you. I'd like to introduce a very special person. He's a beautiful actor, and thank you so much for the Trevor Project. I'd like to invite James Lecesne up here to talk to us a little bit more about this. Line in the play that I feel like saying right now. Yay, team!
You know, I just want to thank Angelica and Jason for bringing together this evening, making it happen. Yeah. You know, this is the first of a series that you're putting together, right? And they're going to be doing more of these things, and I'm sure they'll build in momentum. But it's so charming, us all sitting around on a Sunday night just listening to each other sing and talk. And, you know, the thing that's so incredible to me about that is the Trevor Project's all about the human voice. You know, we actually operate the only 24-hour suicide prevention and crisis intervention helpline for LGBT and Q, that's questioning, youth. And we've been doing it for 14 years. You know, it creates a life-to-life link using the human voice. And I just think it's so appropriate tonight that all these people up on this stage who are so amazingly talented, and I think each one of these lives, you know, are being able to communicate to you tonight is just sort of a microcosm of, you know, what we do at the Trevor Project. So you're probably wondering, who's Trevor? No, okay. Or is it too sad to even think about?
Who's Trevor?
Who's Trevor? So back in the 20th century, in 1990, you know, I'm an actor and a writer, and I created this play called Word of Mouth, which I did off-Broadway. And in that play was a character named Trevor, who was a 13-year-old boy, who, through a series of diary entries, he began to realize that he was gay, and he tried to commit suicide. He also loved Diana Ross, and so that's what saved him. And these two people came to see the show in a little theater down in, you know, La Mama. You probably all know of La Mama. Peggy Reisky and Randy Stone. And they asked me to adapt it into a film, which I did. And the film was called Trevor, appropriately. And it's very funny and very touching, and it tells that story. I didn't get to play Trevor in the movie, because I wasn't 13. But the film won an Academy Award in 1994, and then we actually sold it to HBO. And when we put the film on television, we thought it would be a really great idea to have a telephone number at the end so that if there were kids out there in the United States who recognized themselves in the character of Trevor, that they would have someplace to call and, you know, have them reconsider their actions. And so we looked around, we found that there was no 24-hour suicide prevention helpline specifically for gay and lesbian teenagers, except one in Texas, which was a little worrisome. Especially because when we called it, there was no answer. So, you know, it kept calling back, and it was sad, you know, this way of just, you know. So we actually, Randy, Peggy, and I actually decided, you know, that night that we would start the Trevor Project and start a helpline, which we knew nothing about. Peggy was a producer, Peggy was a director, Randy was a producer, and I'm an actor and a writer. So we knew nothing about this at all. You know, fortunately, the idea was good enough and the need was big enough. The first night that HBO showed the film on television, we got 1,500 calls the first night we flipped the switch to take calls. And that was back in 1994. So, you know, nowadays we answer about 30,000 calls a year. It's, you know, not every one of them is a rescue call, but every single one of them is important. Because what we try to do is we try to encourage help-seeking behavior and to instill in young people this idea that, you know, we can't do this alone, that we actually need one another, and that the only way to get through, especially the difficult years of adolescence, is to be able to learn how to reach out to a fellow human being and create those life-to-life bonds. So I just want to thank you so much for supporting the Trevor Project. You can find out more about it at thetrevorproject.org. We have a amazing website, and we do all sorts of activities that you can participate in. You can become a volunteer, you can answer phones, you can go into schools, all these wonderful actors. You'd be amazing in the schools, just going in and talking about what it is to be yourself. Because that's really what the Trevor Project is about. It's about actually having the courage to be yourself. And I think that this evening is such an incredible example of that, of how these amazing people can really have the courage to get up here and be themselves for you. So thank you very much.
Winding down to the end of our evening, and I want to thank first and foremost Jason for having me be part of this wonderful, beautiful event. Come here.